Hello and welcome to the Believe Crew podcast. The business is you. I'm Jamie White, founder of Believe Crew and your host. Let's jump right in. Welcome to the podcast. Today I have Andy Weins with us. Andy, can you please tell us about your business and everything you do? And of course, I want to know, how did you get here?
Where is here? Let's talk about that. Where is here? Why is that important to you?
So here is in business, as a business owner, trying to figure it all out. What does an entrepreneurial life look like?
As a business owner, I jumped in. I was born into business. My father owns a business. My grandfather, great-grandfather, fourth generation, that kind of thing. So I firmly believe that, they talk about now how your family ancestry follows you within your DNA. So for me, it wasn't about getting here. It was, I did a lot of things that weren't entrepreneurship along the way. I worked for corporate America. I worked for other small businesses. I joined the Army. And these things were stepping stones, but the whole time I was walking away from or avoiding, which was the inevitable truth, which was I'm going to be a business owner. I am unemployable. I don't want to have a job. A job is an obligation that I don't wish on me or those that have that like-minded mindset. So I've been here, and once I had the intestinal fortitude, the courage, the guts to lean into what I always knew in the back of my head, then I fucking arrived, right? And there's a difference there, right? So here I think is very interesting, just that word, right? Because today I'm here, but tomorrow my plan is to be over there or whatever direction you're going, right? Is so from a mindset standpoint and also a physicality, like let's do it,
So becoming an entrepreneur was always in the genes, even if you were avoiding it, maybe not quite running away, but maybe.
Yeah. I mean, subconsciously and consciously, I convinced myself for years I wasn't ready. That was it, right? I had to have the capital. I had to have the business partner. I had to have the degree. I had to have all these answers. But the fact of the matter is, every journey starts with one step, and you don't need to know where you're going to start walking, right? And worst case scenario is you go the wrong direction. Well, at least you walked and you figured out you were going the wrong direction, right? In that fight, flight, or freeze, freezing gets you nowhere. To say I don't know, it was a confidence thing. I had convinced myself I wasn't ready. It was all mindset.
That's incredible. Why the industry that you pick? When we say here, we say entrepreneur, and then also why the industry?
Yeah. Well, the industry is junk removal, again, in my blood. My great-grandfather owned a scrapyard. My father taught me at an early age how to take apart ferrous and non-ferrous metal, sort and separate, and then also take apart. We used to drive around the nice neighborhoods the night before trash day and find treasures, within what they had, right? Whether it was things my dad could sell at a flea market, engines and motors that he could refurbish or and resell. It was metal we could scrap, or hell, toys and bikes and things like that I got. So it was that. I had that planted at a very early age. And then 2 days before Christmas in 2008, I got laid off, like so many. And then in 2009, it's like, well, it's January. I was unemployed. My girlfriend left me. I'm a combat veteran, and I have no education. Well, what do I know? Well, I have a van and a trailer, and I can drive up and down the northwest side of Milwaukee and start digging through trash in the alleys.
That's
awesome. That's a start.
That's awesome.
That's it. That's how right. So for now, people are like, I have a podcast, the Trash Talk Business Podcast, and like in that podcast, I talk about, look at what we got. This is awesome, and we've done this, and people are like, oh, how do I get there? I'm like, well, start digging through trash,
right?
Because if you're not willing to do that, right, the junk removal industry, people are like, oh, okay, should I buy a truck first, or should I get my LLC? What should I do? I say, you should go clean some houses out, clean out a couple houses, do it for yourself, work for somebody else.
Yeah.
Because if you don't like cleaning houses out, the rap and the brand don't can matter. Like, so for me, it's like I was willing to dig through trash with the plan and really the hope, because it was blind faith that I would find something of value, right? And it was in those hours and days and weeks and months by myself. I started to figure it out. Figure myself out. Like, okay, well, shit, when you got a mortgage to pay and no way to pay it, you got to, strap up them boots and get to it.
So how did you end up with a franchise for a little bit?
So I came back. the days of driving up in the alley, up and down the alleys was 2009. Later that year, I utilized my GI Bill. I started going to college. I got a job working construction. I still do the junk removal thing on the side. It was always there. It was always hanging out in the background. But then I, got distracted by life. I got a corporate job working for waste management. I got married. I got deployed. I had a kid. I got divorced. And as I'm even before I deployed, I said, when I come back, I don't want to work for anybody else the rest of my life. I did the waste management thing. It's a fine company. I'm not going to talk shit about them. I learned a lot of stuff in 2 years, but I am not meant for corporate America. I was not put on this earth to play by somebody else's fucking rules. That's it, right? So before I deployed, I said, okay, when I come home, I'm done working for anybody else. I'm going to do this junk removal thing. I got a couple shekels between my pockets, and I'm going to make this a go. And as I'm doing my research, my business plan, I never thought about a franchise. I thought franchising was the worst idea. But then I considered it. And as I'm digging through, and now I talk about the 6 buckets of business, but back then I'm like, I don't know anything about marketing, right?
Right.
And it wasn't totally true, but I bought into this idea that, hey, we're stronger together. Let's get into this franchise world. And I got hooked up with a franchise. 3rd month in business, we're the number 1 franchise in the country.
Wow.
13 months into business, a venture capitalist comes by, offers us the opportunity to co-invest and go into a bunch of locations. And from the day that I signed the franchise agreement, not even 3 years later, 2.5 years later, I had 10 franchises across the country.
Wow.
So it was just, taking off. And then over time, I realized that franchise it's still a half-assed approach. It's still corporate-y. There's still rules. There's still brands. There's still people telling me what to do. And that doesn't vibe. That doesn't jive well with what I do. So I got out of the franchise world. I got involved in some other businesses. It was UV light businesses, antimicrobial business, a rage room, Young Guns,
right.
Antidote Media. Right? I had 2-year non-compete. So I'm like, let's just start a bunch of businesses. And that was awesome. And I learned a lot. But towards the end of my 2-year non-compete, I fell back in love with junk removal. I'm like, you know what? I keep running away from this thing, but it's what I really, truly love doing, and I like to be part of. It allows me to develop complicated solutions, simple solutions for complicated problems, and our community needs it.
Yeah.
And now it's given me a springboard to train, coach, and mentor through my podcast and even now consulting individual owner operators to say, hey, you don't need to be part of a franchise. You don't need to work for a company. You can do it on your own. The barriers to entry in junk removal are very, very minimal, but that means everybody can get in. So how do you compete in your market? Teach them the best tools, tricks, trades, all that stuff, with a huge emphasis on recycling and community responsibility and stewardship, because the waste industry, the salvage industry, the sanitation industry, the junk industry, they all have negative connotation, right? Mm-hmm. So if we change the narrative to being frontline recyclers, well, now we're onto something, right?
Right. Shift it to a positive, right?
Right, exactly. Like, hey, I'll take the things out of your house and I'm going to find a new home for them. And so not only do I do that, right? The goal here is in our 4 walls here at Camo Crew Junk Removal, we develop the processes. We're doing it. I was downstairs a minute ago talking to my guys. All right, what do we do? What are the jobs? What are, how much of it's recoverable? All these conversations, and then I can come here in the afternoons and the evenings and record podcasts and talk to the rest of the world about how we can keep material out of the landfill, right? And then I do Young Guns, which I talk about business, and I do in the Idea Collective, and I talk about the 6 buckets, and I'm writing a book, and it's like I just got so much I want to share with the world now that I found where I belong.
That is so awesome. So what I'm hearing is that you literally get to step into your purpose. And what I love about it, not everybody gets that opportunity to step away from their business and then reevaluate and say, actually, I did like it.
Everybody has the opportunity. It's a choice. I'll argue
Very
there,
true.
Right?
Very true. They don't take or make the opportunity. Yeah.
They don't choose. Choose is a beautiful word, right? Yeah. So for me, I used to choose to work 80, 90, 100 hours a week. I chose to work Saturdays and Sundays. I made that choice because I didn't establish boundaries for myself, and I worked a lot. Right now, I didn't have a lot of money. Again, it's one of those like I didn't have a lot of choices back then, right? Like, so let's think this through, right? Like I made choices. I'm like, hold on, the more work I put in today, I'm going to see those returns over time. So I
Right.
chose to invest my time in the business so that someday I could choose to not invest in business. The challenge is with a lot of entrepreneurs, they choose to be busy, and busy doesn't take skill.
Right. Right.
They choose to sit on social media. They choose to go to networking events that aren't in their best interest. They choose to take on projects that aren't fulfilling and they're mind numbing, right? So those are choices they make, right? And now when you have no money and you have a lot of time, well, then you make choices that are skewed. And over time, as you grow in your business, you collect more data, and then you start making data-driven decisions, and your choices are in line with where you're at today and where you're going, not where you were in the past and what you didn't have.
Yeah. So I guess the thing that I wanted to kind of go back to, though, is when you stepped away from the business with that 2-year non-compete, because I feel like some businesses owners could be doing well financially, and then they have, like you said, a choice to make, like, do I just maintain what I have and stay where I am, even though I'm feeling like this isn't. How often do you believe purpose is sacrificed for maintaining?
Well, you have to your purpose has to be, you have to be driven from purpose first.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
well, I think they are initially when they start the business, and then there gets to be a point where it's, it just feels like the same old, like, is this where really, when business gets boring is when it's making some money, and then you.
No. If you don't absolutely enjoy the grind of business, then you're in the wrong business.
Right.
I mean, it's endure the hustle. Hustle, right? That's the you're going up the damn mountain, right? You got to endure that. You got to be like, okay, I'm going up this mountain, right? And then I'm going to embrace the struggle, because the closer you get to that peak, the more complicated it becomes.
Yeah.
You're right, and you're not as naive as you were on the foothills. You learned some shit, right?
Right.
And then you have to enjoy the grind, the downslope. Like, okay, we got that shit, but as you go down, guess what? There's another fucking mountain. Mm-hmm. And now you got to endure the hustle. You have to choose, say, okay, I got it going. So what you're telling me is people are like, oh, same old, same old. Well, they're not enjoying it. They're not looking, oh, this is fucking awesome. Look what we built. Oh, look what we got. Oh, that's kind of cool. All right. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Kind of getting bored. Oh. We got to get going. We got to go. It's time to go. And the thing is, if you don't, this world will swallow you up and spit you out.
That's
because
what I'm feeling.
they're
yeah.
Okay, because there's these uncontrollable forces called the economy, inflation, competition. If you're just on easy street, I see this all the time, especially in the hospitality industry. People are like, they get a bar. I used to work in bars for years. It's like they get a bar and they're like, all right, I remodeled the bar and I put out a new menu and I stocked the shelves, and you know what? As long as I turn the light on every day and keep it clean, we got this,
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, because then it gets stale and it gets stagnant, and the same customers come in, and eventually they stop coming in because some other bars got some other promotion going on, right? And then they're playing back. No, you gotta keep it fresh. If you don't come in motivated to be like, you know what, I'm gonna make this place better every day. In the military, we talk about this often, right? If you're there, right, you have a fighting position. If you're not fighting the enemy and you're not resting, you're improving your fighting position. Those are your three options. Wow. You're actively engaged, you're resting, or you're improving your fighting position. The challenge is people are like, all right, good enough.
Good enough.
Let's go, right? And they're like, I worked 70 hours this week. Well, how many hours do you really work? Yeah, my argument is you probably worked 30. You were there for 70. Right. Hell, if I'm sitting here on my phone, right, I could be like, yep, look at me. 7 o'clock at night, still putting the work in. Let's see what TikTok has to offer us today. Right? I'm not putting the work in.
Right.
I'm here. And so that's the challenge, is you got to know where you're at mentally, emotionally, financially, physically, right? Within yourself and your business, to then make those data-driven decisions.
I love that. Okay. So what are some of the things that you have found about yourself in the last couple of years, financially, emotionally, mentally, that you're realizing I got to take care
of? Rest and digest. I am down to a almost 2.5 day work week on my main career, the business that makes me money. I'm really close. It started with, I'll say one day. It was significant when I joined 3 years ago. I joined a CEO roundtable, and we had one day a month that we had our roundtable, right? Well, an hour here, hour there. That was pretty simple, right? All right, I'm going to go to one-on-one. I'm going to go to this, whatever. Right? But when I had to commit one day, right? There's 22 and a half working days in a month. I got to commit one of them. That's 5% of my month, like that. 4%, whatever it ends up being. 4%. Let's call it 4%. 4.5%. So now I'm willing to commit 4.5% of my month to working on myself. Okay, I can do that. Well, then I realized in our CEO roundtable met on Thursdays, and then it got moved to Fridays. So now one Friday a month I don't have to come into the office. And I'm like, ooh, what if I work from home one Friday and work on the business, right?
Right.
Right, because if I'm the sales guy working networking events, it's like I'm still in the business. That's my job, right? I'm building the business. I'm not hauling the junk, but I'm still very much alive and well in one of these buckets. Like that is my fighting position, you know? And then when I started taking one day, I'm like, man, what would happen if I just put out of office on Fridays? Yeah. And I started doing that. And it took a few months to be disciplined. And now my Fridays, I'd say one in 4 Fridays a month I come in the office. So this last Friday I came in, it worked out. And I'm not working, but I'm not in the office.
Right.
Like I did a coffee. I did a coffee that was more, I was actually buying from the person, not selling to them. I did a lunch that was just as much social as it was, social and personal, and just as much as it was business, right? And then I had some obligations that afternoon that I chose, but I could have chose not to, right? Those were very, right? And they were, and 2 of them were consulting based, right? So that's my other business right now. It's now not the Camo Crew. But anyways, I was in my office here, and I'm just working, and one of my guys comes up, and he's like, and he doesn't look at my calendar. He doesn't know shit. He's like, oh, I didn't think you were going to be in here. You should actually drop something off for me. And he goes, you're never here on Friday. Right? Like he already knows. They don't look at my calendar. They just know Andy doesn't come in on Fridays.
Right.
They also know I'm not on Mondays. I come in, maybe an hour at most I'll spend on the business on Mondays. Because Mondays, 10 o'clock, I have a standing call. I've had it for 3 years now. 2 years. For Young Guns. So Monday morning, 10 o'clock, that's my first call. I reserve 8 to 10 on a Monday morning for shit hits the fan, right? That's but 10 awesome. O'clock, I do Young Guns. So I dedicate the time to that, right? That's a side hustle. And then I got 7 hours of content on Mondays I record. Wow. So Mondays are now my record day. So I'm working on the business. I'm working on my other businesses. Friday, I'm out of the office. Well, shit, I work Tuesdays. I work Wednesday. And at about noon on Thursdays, I start doing consulting calls for the afternoon, which is not right. So now I'm down to 2.5 days. It didn't happen overnight. It started with 1 day a month. Now I'm down to a place where I work 10 days a month in my business. And my goal, because I heard a speaker say this at Young Guns, shameless plug, that she works 1 hour a month, or sorry, 1 hour a week in her business. She has a 1 hour a week standing meeting in her business, and that's it. That's the only hour that she's in her business a week. And so I have that meeting. It's 8 a.m. on Thursday mornings. The goal is that I get down to that 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. We've moved around, whatever. That meeting once a week, and that's the only meeting I have for the entire business. And I'm getting there. I'm taking steps, and it's right. It's methodical. It doesn't happen overnight.
So do you have what you would call like an implementer that is the next main person? Yeah.
This would not happen had I not hired our general manager, Ken. I just promoted him now to president. He will be taking over the company in the next 13 months. If we look at the entrepreneurial operating system from our good friends over at Traction, and there's whatever, but they use the word visionary and implementer. Is it implementer?
They use the word integrator. I use the word implementer.
Fine, there we go. Fine, we'll call it whatever. Dreamer and implementer, right? We don't want to get sued. So I'm the dreamer. I come up with the fucking ideas, but I need someone to execute. And in the execution phase, I need someone to challenge my perspective, challenge my orientation, the way I'm seeing things, right? I can observe. Exactly. Oh, there it is. Well, I got to challenge my orientation. So then the decisions we make are consistent with where we're going, not just another fucking good idea that Andy pulled out of his ass.
Yeah, I was the implementer for so many years, and I love visionaries or dreamers so that they can have 10 amazing ideas, but 9 of them need to be filtered.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. Dude, I got 10 ideas. I got 10 ideas every day. I got 10
right,
amazing ideas every day.
right. And it creates, every idea creates how much work for them. So I'm actually loving this idea that dreamers and visionaries, business owners, get to take off a minimum of 4 months a year, even if, like what you're saying is, it starts with just one day. Like, how can we get to the point where, and maybe the 4 months aren't consecutive. Maybe it's, in days of
Oh,
the week,
oh yeah,
weeks
no,
of the year, whatever.
yeah. I mean, I don't, whatever the math is. Well, this is how
Yeah.
we do it. So this is how we do
Mm-hmm.
it. I was working with one of my coaching, not really client, whatever. She's in the Idea Collective, and she's looking at next year, right? And we already said, I said, okay, I start bottom line up front. How much money do you want to make? Well, this many dollars. Okay, so now we know how many dollars we want to make, right? And then we figure out what's your billable rate, how many hours a week. It's just fucking math. And I built it.
Reverse engineering it.
Fucking right. Well, to a certain extent. Bottom line up front, how much money do you want to make? That's a good place to start. And then, yeah, to that certain extent, right? Well, because now we're going with the profit first mindset, right? Which is our good buddy Mike Mihalowicz teaches us. And then I say, okay, I'm building this on a 48-week work week. She's like, well, why is that? I said, well, you said you wanted 2 weeks of vacation, and at a minimum, the Christmas week and Thanksgiving and or factor in 4th of July, right? I figure Thanksgiving, 4th of July, you're losing 2-3 days each, right? That's a week. Christmas, New Year's, there's a fucking week, right?
Yeah,
Memorial Day, Labor Day, whatever. And then you're going to take, and you said you wanted 2 weeks of vacation. So that's how it starts.
Yeah.
Right now we have the confidence because we have the plan, we have the data, right? Data-driven decisions. So say, okay, hold on. I can work 48 hours a week. I'm sorry, 48 weeks a year.
Yeah, that's what it
make the money. Well, here was her problem. When we did her data, we were 35 weeks into the calendar year. I recall this. I took her number of billable hours divided by 35, simple hillbilly math. She worked on average 15.5 billable hours a week. That week, she fired 5 of her 11 clients.
Wow.
Because she was giving away time. They weren't paying her what she was worth. The work wasn't exciting. Right? So that's when you start to say no. And when you start to say no to one thing, that means you're saying yes to something else. Right?
Exactly.
It is start, stop, continue methodology of change. When we say I'm going to stop this behavior, well, what are we going to continue doing? Right? Multiply the time we're already, or start doing, add something in that we haven't added in before. Because now this inventory of time has become available because we're never going to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Right? You just say, hey, I'm going to stop going on Facebook during the day. I noticed for me, I noticed this yesterday when I was shooting content and whatnot. When I get bored, but I have to sit here. So when the guys in the camera, they're moving the lights around. What's the first thing I do? I go here, I start dead scrolling. Right? When I get bored, I go to my phone. It's crack. It's cocaine. It's like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? YouTube, Facebook, check an email, look at a text message, reread some shit. Sitting there reading PDFs like this, right, that I shouldn't be reading in the first place.
Right.
Wait till hell, this Saturday, I have 2 hours blocked off to write stuff on my book because I've been thinking about it and I know I have homework due before Monday. Well, you know what? Hold on. Just block out 2 hours on Saturday and now, boom, it's allocated. It's out of my head. Right? My ADD kicks in. Well, we got on the calendar. We're good to hook.
Yeah. Owning my calendar was one of the biggest changes for me to be able to have space to think. It's like, just put it on my calendar. If it's on my calendar, I don't have to use up mind space thinking or worrying about the problem. It's like, I have time to think about that problem later. Right,
but I don't worry, and I don't, right, and even I hate the word thinking, right? Thinking, you're spinning your wheels. No, I have prioritized it. I know that I have to get right. This is the thing, right? I know that I need to get this work done on my book so that my book comes out on time, right? So now I got buy-in. Right. I'm ready. I'm good to hook, right? I also know that I do my best work on projects like that when I have the time and space alone, when I'm not in the day-to-day. Okay, well, that's good. I looked at my calendar. It's Tuesday. We're recording this. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're running hard. I got a lot of stuff going on, right? Okay, well, it's due on Monday. Okay, we'll put it on Saturday. So like 2:00 on Saturday, it's already on my calendar. It just says book homework. And then I take the Word doc. I didn't even read it. I looked at the email. I just put a little star on it.
Yeah.
There it goes. It's pinned. We got it. We're good. I've now compartmentalized it, and I feel good. I know I'm going to make mission. The challenge is the people that don't. They're like, oh, I got to do this, and I got to do that. I got to do this, right? It goes back to what we talked about earlier. Being busy takes no skill. And I know that. I'm a recovering, multitasking busybody person that said, give me an award for all the hours I ran around like a crazy man. And I still do it. But I'm recovering. I'm still in recovery, right?
You're being more productive with the hours that you're doing. I want to go back to what you said, though, about the word think that you don't love, because I do love the word think. Okay, thinking. Okay.
Thinking and think are different.
Okay. Well, the reason I bring it up is because Mike Michalowicz also shared that entrepreneurs need to think of themselves as job creators, and that thinking time is important, like creating. Okay. But you're high acting, right? Your from think to action is probably a very short,
which is not right, which isn't always great. But hold on. But okay. Here's where I'm at though. Thinking, right? As entrepreneurs, I don't have to sit and think like, what wild harebrained idea. Let me sit here.
No.
No. My brain is always spinning. So let's break this down, Barney style, right? I have eliminated the word thinking from my vernacular, right? And instead, I say, well, I'm analyzing data.
Okay.
Because
the idea came in the shower and you didn't have to think about it.
Exactly. I am not short of fucking awesome ideas.
Right.
And terrible ideas. However, I need to analyze them, right? Because now once you start using the word analyze, now there's ownership. Now I have to get facts to back up what's already there. Right? As entrepreneurs, Mike's absolutely right. We need time to qualify and disqualify all the shit in our heads.
Yeah.
So we need to analyze it against data points.
I like that perspective. So I wanted to come back to it. I didn't want to, but I do see that you have, very high action, and it can probably be intimidating to some, but it's really you working in the way that you work best, and it's how you're built to work.
That sounds like a them problem. Yeah, it sounds like a them
right?
problem.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people.
I had empathy and compassion.
No, I'm not. There's a lot of people that have pronoun issues. I've come to realize in my life. And I write about this in my book. I don't know if I made the final cut. Whatever, made it. Read the book. We'll both figure out together whether I made the cut or not.
When did you come out?
Q2-ish.
Nice.
Not a hard to find date because it's about quality, not quantity. It's all about making sure it's right, not that it's fast, right? Whatever. Here's my point about pronoun confusion, right? People often are confused with their pronouns, right? So you say like, well, hey, Andy, it's a problem, right? You have a problem the way you think too much, right? You have a problem. No, I don't have a fucking problem.
Right.
You have a problem with what I'm doing. That's a you problem. Right? I had lunch today with one of my mentors, and what she said, we were talking about relationships, and she said 9 out of 10 times she has an issue with her spouse. She's the one with the problem. Yeah. She's the one that came in without a great attitude. She's the one I talk about halt, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, right? She's the one that wasn't expressing gratitude towards her significant other before the interaction. Right. Well, it's like, okay, you're right. If you come in with that mindset, like today, I got mad at this car in front of me, right? I'm mad at an inanimate object, right? And why was I mad? Well, because I chose to stick around work another 5 minutes, which now I had the perception I was going to be late to the thing I was going to, right? So
it wasn't the car in front of you that was the problem.
Correct. I'm the problem. Right. Did the car sit at an intersection for 3 continuous lights and not go straight because the light doesn't trick? And they could have hung a right and done a U-turn 100 yards away and gone into the Metro Mark on 120th and Capitol? Yes, they could have. Those are facts.
Right.
But who was running late?
Right.
Why
was it?
Those are all facts. The facts are, what that had I been 30 seconds earlier, I wouldn't have been there. And right, so it sounds like a me problem, right? When you can say, "Oh, it sounds like a me problem," right? It is maybe there's some fancy term in there like analytically empathetic, right?
You're reminding me of things that definitely hit home. So this
right,
is
but
good.
like fact-based empathy, right?
Yeah.
Like because this is the truth, right? Empathy is not a natural strength of mine, so therefore I have to be very conscious of that and then implement tools and procedures in place to understand other people and also be empathetic towards myself, right? I don't have to be tough, strong, masculine man 24/7, right? I'm allowed to have feelings. The opportunity then is to have the feelings, feel the feelings, go through the feeling, and then be able to qualify those feelings with facts or disqualify those feelings with facts.
You're learning to use data for your feelings. I like it.
Data-driven decisions, analytical empathy. Write that down. Analytical empathy. We're gonna fucking trademark it. I'm gonna make some money. Let's go.
That's great. I still want to know a little bit more about what you have going on in the future.
All right, so book. I'm gonna do shameless plugs for the next 2 minutes because that's what you asked for. All right, so I got a couple of things. I have the Trash Talk Business Podcast. I'm gonna continue doing that, and that becomes the top of the funnel for my junk removal consulting business. So I consult independent owner operators in the junk removal space, how to run their businesses better so that they can build a dream that they want and be environmentally responsible and build a sustainable business. Because a lot of small businesses get in, especially blue collar ones, and they work really, really hard. But if they work smarter, they can really build the life they want. They struggle getting out of the truck. And I've seen this for my father for 30 years now. He's 66 years old. He still swings a hammer every day. His choice, but there's going to be a day where he can't swing the hammer, and his business dies with him. Right. And so it works for him. But there's a lot of
created a job that he owned.
He created a job. That's the thing. He built himself a job, not a business. Right? He is the business. So it works for him.
You can't even sell it at that point.
No, there's nothing. And that works for him. The challenge is most people I talk to that get into business, their goal is to take a vacation someday.
Right.
Or have the business make them income, right? Okay. So that's why I do the Trash Talk Business Podcast. I have a new podcast coming out. It's my way of sharing my veteran experience with the world. It's called Welcome Home.
Very cool.
The transformation from troops in boots to veterans in the civilian world. I'm really excited and proud of that because it's not AFW, do the fucking thing. It's more like, hey, let's talk about why we struggle and how do we show up every day, right? So
embracing the empathy, this is a good growth opportunity for you.
It really is because that Andy, right? That scarred child or whatever, right? That avatar, that person within me comes out there more, and for me, it's very therapeutic. I do that with a good buddy of mine, Dylan Schlesler, who is a veteran counselor, just a good dude. We match each other's energy well, so we can talk about really deep and dark things in a very methodical manner, which is easy for me to understand and digest. And the goal there is that it's also it's simply, and I hate the word easy, simply understood by the listenership. And then let's talk about that, right? Eliminate the words simpler and harder from your vocabulary, right? That's all about the book that's coming out. Words fucking matter. Retrain your brain to use language that serves you. This book has been a journey. I joked for years. I do bits. I got jokes, right? I talk about thinking, talking, trying. All you're doing is lying, right? I got all these bits and I got these jokes, and there are a lot of default fighting positions that work well as I'm explaining myself and understanding the world around me, right? And because of that lack of empathy and social awareness and all that other shit, right? So I use these tools to understand the world around me. And a year ago, I sat with a book writer and I said, hey, let's write this book called Hustle, Struggle, Grind, The 13 Lessons of Life. And after 6 weeks of weekly calls and doing an outline, it came down to a lot of what I talk about is the words that you tell yourself, the words that you tell others, the words that you put up to the universe, right? It is a mirror. It's the reflection of those things that come back to be true. And so now the book is transformed into this book about words. And I'm really excited about it because, I was that imposter syndrome for years telling the joke, hey, I'm writing this in the book in my head. Well, no, now I'm putting pen to paper, and I have put a lot of hours in this last year, hundreds of hours, and I'm really excited about it because, when we're dead and gone, I did something. I have a lasting legacy.
There's a legacy.
I have the opportunity to influence people, and that's exciting to me. It's exciting that I've learned these things, and now I can share them with the world. And so words matter. Words fucking matter is exciting. And with all three of those verticals, the goal for me is simple. The 3-part system for success, or definition of success for me, is I go places, I say words, and I never think about money.
Yeah,
that's it, right? And so financial security. So those 3 things over time, that's my end state. And it's not a lot of money necessarily, but the fact that the businesses are in good hands, so that I have that foundation of financial security, because we grew up poor, and when you don't have financial security, it's always in the back of your head. You're looking at menu prices. You're thinking twice about when the check comes. All those things, and so it's important for me that I have that financial security. I provide that for my daughter and my family, and then I can go out to the world and really, really shine and say all the words.
I love everything that you have on the table, and it sounds like it's the perfect growth for you, right? And the perfect way to contribute for you. And I want to say thank you for the podcast that you're starting, because as you know, my son recently enlisted, and it could be, I'm new to this as a mom, as a military mom. And I think there are so many out there that would love to, have that empathy piece from someone that's been in the field. That's amazing. Okay, so before I let you go, is there anything else that you want entrepreneurs to know that you want to share today?
Here is the 3-step process for the success in life. You know this one. I came up with it at Young Guns event. I put it all together, right? Because when you do these 3 steps, you will be successful in life. Here it is. Do the fucking thing. Put in the work. Perform your craft. Be amazing at it. Do all the work that is necessary to get the knowledge and get the experience needed to be successful in the world, right? There's your first step. Second step, tell the fucking world. Be proud in what you do, right? There's a difference between pride in yourself and proud in what you've done. Proud of what you've accomplished, proud of what you learned. Go out there and share it with the world. Share that positivity with the world. Share that experience with the world. Share the knowledge with the world. The world needs more positivity and enlightenment, right? We live in dark times and bullshit media outlets and politicians and all this shit. Go out and share it with the world, right? The Enlightenment era, we're on the cusp of it again. Let's fucking go, right? And then the third step, shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah.
This is important. Tell yourself to shut up. Tell your ego to shut up. Do the work, right? Tell your insecurities to shut up. Tell the world. Be proud of what you've done, right? And tell the people in the cheap seats, the people that don't invest their time, their effort, or their money into you, shut the fuck up. Your high school bully, the family member that said you're never going to be good enough, society that said you're not great. Shut up.
Yeah.
And then go back to doing what you do best. Everyone was put in this world for greatness. Go out and find yours. Be unapologetic. Don't follow the social norms. Be you. When you do that, not if, when you do that, you will be enlightened. And that no momentum. I wrote this earlier today to someone. We were talking about getting up this morning and running and how often people don't want to get up and run. And I'm like, who wants to get up and run in the morning? That sounds terrible. And so I came up with everything in my life is 3s. I got to find this before we get off this podcast, right? Because that's how my brain works. Right here I go. I said, a little motivation starts the momentum to complete the mission.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So motivation to momentum to mission.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In the military, we always joke, false motivation is better than no motivation. A good attitude can move a mountain. Not an attitude alone. You need the momentum, and you got the mission in mind.
Yeah.
If you're going to go do something, do it. Tell everybody once you've done it, right? It's important that you do these 3 steps in order, right? And when the world starts telling you what you can't do, I ain't got time for that.
I ain't got time for that.
move about your business, and go back to doing the thing you do. Right? You have to endure the hustle, that momentum, that motivation. You have to embrace the struggle, and you got to enjoy the grind. If ultimately you don't enjoy doing what you're doing, then stop doing it.
Yeah.
Get out of unhealthy relationships. Quit that bullshit job. Stop working on that craft that your family wants you to work on because that's what they want you to do. I met a kid recently. He said, all I want to do is be a cop. That's all I've ever wanted to do. But my parents are afraid, and they want me to be an accountant. I'm like, well, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to school. I'm like, for what? For finances. I go, why? I said, you want to be a cop? He goes, yeah, but my mom and dad will kick me out if I go to school to be a cop. Yeah. Then get kicked out.
Right. What's the problem with that?
Right.
Done. Yeah.
Right. Well, then I got to find an apartment.
Totally agree.
Well, you got to get a job. Okay. Is it right? Well, start now. Hey, like I talk about the kill zone, right? We're not even close to our final point, but I talk about the kill zone, right? When you're in the kill zone, you know you're already dead. You know that where you're spotted, every direction's a good direction. So for this kid, for example, it's like, well, I really don't want to go to school to be a accountant. Well, are you going to school to be an accountant? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is a good place. Let's not do that. Because at this point, everything is better than that. Even if you don't want to be a cop, right? Even if that doesn't pan out, you know you don't want to be an accountant.
Right.
So does that mean you have to drop out of school and get a full-time job and get an apartment? Okay. I mean, let's think about people that get into bad marriages and they're like, well, I stuck around for 20 years and 30 years and then I got.
Do you get a badge?
Yeah. Like,
what do you get?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Or people that stick around fucking terrible jobs for 30 years for that pension. Sorry about you.
All right. Awesome. Good to talk to you.
Appreciate you. Thanks, Jamie.